Uh, Thank you to everyone attending this lecture. We've previously spoken about the story of creation in the different Sabaic religions, the Egyptians, the Mandaeans, the Hindus, the Zoroastrians, the Greeks. Today we're going to be looking at what the planets, the value that the planets hold to their worshippers. We've read from the Zoroastrian sources when we were talking about as the demon that connects people to the planets. We said that, and this demon, if you can't remember, connects the people to the planets to be purified of their sins. The planets act as purgatories, and they suffer their heat and cold until the end of times. I have a slightly different belief in terms of the planets. But let's go ahead and start reading about the planets. This is my own note, so I'm going to be proving this in the future. We're going to be looking at evidence of everything that I'm going to be sharing with you in this note of mine. The 7 classical planets, the Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, can be seen with the naked eye, perform an extremely important function, and that is cleansing people of their sins. If these planets did not exist, mischievous people would land in hell for eternity. These planets are the supreme deities of the Sabians. In order of supremacy, the Sun comes first, and remember the monotheistic Sabians, that's the Mandaeans, Zoroastrians, and Yazidis, pray to the hidden spirit of the sun. The moon comes second. Manichaeans and Hindus view the sun and moon as their supreme deities. The first pray to the spirits of the sun and moon. Hindus view the moon Shiva and the sun Vishnu and the hidden spirit of the sun Brahma as their supreme gods. So they have a trinity. But do not pray to the hidden sun Brahma. And I'm going to talk about this trinity. I'm going to show you how this trinity made its way into Christianity. Hindus view the moon, I've said this, they also worship other planets and luminary bodies. They are polytheists, and they pray to the spirits. They pray not to the spirits that reside over them, but to the planets themselves. Hindus pray to the planets themselves. Unlike the Mandaeans and unlike the Zoroastrians, the Yazidis, the Manichaeans, all of those other groups pray to the spirits of the planet. Okay, the same with the Greeks. The Greeks also pray to the spirits of the planets, not the Hindus. These 2 supreme planets are referred to as active or mobile planets. That's the sun and the moon, because they always appear to be moving, an action which brings about day and night. The next 5 planets are commonly referred to as the stationary retrograde planets. Out of the 5, the most important one has to be Venus. We're going to talk about why they're called stationary. Okay, during their movement, when the 5 planets are moving in this circular path of theirs, they shift their movement and they start moving backwards before finally correcting and going back onto their original path and moving in the original direction they were moving along. So we're going to talk about this. Let's just continue reading for now. The most important one has to be Venus. So much so, in fact, that the Mandaeans call her the wife of God. Of course, they are referring to the hidden spirits of Venus and the sun. Across the Sabaic religions, she is usually associated with lust, fertility, and the life-giving waters. The connotation that these planets are evil, and it's not just in Mandaism that she is referred to as the wife of God. We're going to see the same she is the wife of God because she is the avatar of the moon. And I'm going to be proving this in the future. In other Sabaic religions, she is referred to as the wife of God because she is an avatar of the moon. they both form a crescent. Venus and the moon form a crescent. That's why she's seen as an avatar of the moon. I will be discussing this. Okay? The connotation that these planets are evil is best explained through the concept of duality, yin and yang, that appears extensively in all Sabaic religions. Duality means that everything has an opposite. For light, it's darkness, good and evil, male and female. Their gods are androgynous. Their gods are no exception to this rule. They have evil avatars that's main function is to lure people to sin. Although a different interpretation would be that these planets are simply testing people to see if they are fit for the world of light or not. And this is seen with the Egyptians, by the way. The system or the belief system that these planets could be both baleful and good in terms of the way that they interact with human beings is seen also with the Egyptians. Greeks worshipped the spirits associated with these 7 planets, not the planets themselves. And the hidden spirit of the sun was their supreme god, Zeus. Zeus is the supreme god, and he is the hidden spirit of the sun. Okay, and the Greeks, like we've said, they believed that when God created the world, he created 7. Next, the goddess, this is highlighted in Greek, next the goddess created the 7 planetary powers, setting a titaness and a titan over each. See that? So there were spirits that resided over these planets, and the Greeks worshipped the spirits of these planets, not the planets themselves. The wandering stars. So we're going to be talking about these planets, the retrograde motion of the planets, which I've spoken about previously. The wandering stars posed a somewhat more difficult problem. A planet such as Mars moves slowly from west to east against the fixed background stars, and then mysteriously reverses direction for a period of time, resuming its previous path. Attempting to understand this backward or retrograde motion became the principal problem in astronomy for nearly 2,000 years. Hipparchus, perhaps the most notable of the Greek astronomers, proposed a system of circles to explain retrograde motion. By placing a planet on a small rotating epicycle that in turn moved on a larger different, he was able to reproduce the behavior of the wandering stars. Furthermore, this system was able to explain the increased brightness of the planets during their retrograde phases as resulting from the changes in their distance from Earth. So, if you look at the figure to your left, this graph that you see at the top of the image, this is the actual movement of the planet. It's moving in a circular path, as you can see, and then all of a sudden it shifts and it starts moving backwards before correcting its direction of motion and continuing to move along that circular path. The Greeks, one of the Greek philosophers, tried to explain this by claiming that there's a large circle that the planet was moving along, but not only that, the planet itself has its own circular path within that larger circular path. And so I think it's self-explanatory, to be honest. But these planets, from now on, we're going to be calling them retrograde planets. The 5 planets, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, we're going to be referring to them as retrograde planets. Okay. Ruha Kutsa, Holy Spirit, is an epithet of Ruha. Ruha's epithet, Kutsa, corresponds to a category of cultic staff of Ishtar, that's Venus, which includes female prostitutes called Kadistu. In the Ginza, the other epithet of Ruha is Libat Ishtar Amamite. Ishtar is the Akkadian Venus. Zehner states that consanguineous incest, meaning consanguineous marriage, is of Magian origin, and that Ruha and Ur's act of incest is similar to Ahura Mazd, basically the supreme god of the Zoroastrians, is similar to Hormuzd's consanguineous marriage with his mother, his sister, and his daughter. Zahner mentions, according to the Acts of the Parsis, that the sun, moon, and the stars were the children of Ahura Mazda. Diwan Abu Thor picture. There are only four. So this is a picture from Diwan Abu Thor. There are only 4 figures besides Shamish in the sun boat. Shamish is the sun. The names of the crew are differently given by Mendaeans. Again, Zabra was doubtful, but his list was Libat, that's Venus, whose other names are Sim'at-Hai and Ruha. See that? So, Sim'at-Hai is the wife of the great Mana, the hidden sun in the world of non-existence. Both the wife of God and Ruha are avatars of Venus. Okay? So the planet or the deity can have a baleful avatar. Okay? Associations such as that of Ra with the sun. Different deities could share the same associations. Atum, Ra, Khipri, Horakti, and several other gods were all associated with the sun. For example, conversely, many deities were associated with more than one characteristic. Most of the more important gods and goddesses had many different names showing their multiple identities. Some deities were viewed as particularly helpful to humans. Thoth, Horus, and Isis were all called Sunu, or physician, due to their healing power, but while many gods and goddesses were viewed benevolent, others were regarded as being inimical, harmful, meaning towards humanity. Even some of these who were generally regarded as being benevolent could be ambivalent in nature. This was especially true of female deities. Hathor, for example, was worshipped as a goddess of love, music, and celebration. But she was also mythically typecast as a raging destroyer of humanity. In some cases, deities exhibited different forms, according to aspects of their nature, so that in her usual placid role, the goddess Bestet appeared in the form of a cat, and her more ferocious role in the guise of a lioness. Such ambivalence is not rare among the Egyptian gods, and it is sometimes difficult to ascertain whether certain deities were worshipped despite or because of their potential hostility. So I want to talk about now the Sabians. Their gods have avatars, meaning different forms of the one god. Let's see where this came from. This obviously came from the Egyptians, but I just want to show you how extreme this was, how extreme the Egyptians went with the concept of avatars. The mummy of King Thutmose III, found in the royal cache at Deir el-Bahri, was also wrapped in an inscribed shroud, originally over 5 meters long. A dedication text records that it was made for him by his son and successor Amenhotep II. A portion of the shroud, now in the Egyptian Museum of Cairo, joins the left edge of the Boston fragment. The Cairo piece is covered with texts from Litany of Ra, an address to the 75 different forms of the sun god. See that? So this concept of avatars is very common amongst the Sabians. One more thing that I'd like to talk about, and after this we can start looking at the beliefs, what exactly every Sabaic religion worshipped. But one quick note that I'd like to make is that the Sabians associate their planets with days of the week. For the Mandaeans, certain deities also govern the days, and hence have a planetary character. For instance, Sunday is governed by Shemesh, the sun. Monday is governed by the moon. Tuesday is governed by Mars. Wednesday is governed by Mercury. Thursday by Jupiter. Friday is the day of Venus, and Saturday is the day of Saturn. From the Hindu calendar, history, seasons, months, the name of each day in Sanskrit is comprised of the planet, followed by the word for day of the week, Vasara or Vara. These same seven celestial bodies comprise the first 9 planets. The 2 other planets are the shadow planets that are thought to cause eclipses and are associated with lunar nodes. Okay. Which in turn are considered to be deities that control the respective days of the week. So, I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that these are the same days of the week being controlled by the same planets. So, Sunday is the day of the sun, Monday is the day of the moon, Tuesday is the day of Mars, Mercury is the day of Wednesday, Jupiter is the day of Thursday, Venus is the day of Friday, and Saturn, its days is Saturday. Exactly like the Mandaeans, okay? Exactly like the Mandaeans. Let's go ahead and look at the Greek and Roman sources. The order of the planets within the week, which appear to have been standard from the outset, appears to be problematic. In the Hellenistic astronomical and cosmological traditions, the planets were ordered according to their perceived distance from the Earth and or the length of their revolution. Both criteria coalesced into a single sequence, which in earlier Hellenistic sources appears as Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Moon, and in later Roman sources, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. The weekly sequence can be described as a reiteration of the cosmological sequence, that of Ptolemy, but skipping each time 2 planets. Thus, Saturn is followed by the Sun, skipping Jupiter and Mars, then by the Moon, skipping Venus and Mercury, then by Mars, skipping Saturn, Jupiter, and so on. Okay, so let's look at this pattern. Saturn, that's the day of Saturday, is followed by the Sun, that's the day of Sunday, then by the Moon, that's the day of Monday, then by Mars, that's the day of Tuesday, and so on. See that? So, and then in the Roman sources, as we shall see, in the Roman tradition, the week starts on Saturday, the day of Saturn, followed by the day of the Sun, followed by the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus. See that? This is not a coincidence. It's the same exact pattern. Okay? From the Zoroastrian sources, the planetary week, according to an earlier astrological pattern, each of the 7 days of the week was put under the protection of a planetary divinity. The tradition entered the western Iranian lands in late antiquity thanks to Sogdian intermediation. The planetary week found its way to China, probably through the Manichaean missions. And then from the Manichaean sources we read, the first day of the week, Sunday, is venerated by the Manichaean laity, but their elite venerate the second day, Monday. Thus has many made binding upon them. Right, so the day of the sun is Sunday, and the day of the moon is Monday. And as we've said, the Manichaeans worship both the sun and the moon, the father and the mother. The father is the sun and the mother is the moon. Are you saying that Muslims worship the sun? First of all, let's look at what other Sabaic religions worship. From the Yazidis' faith, from the Yazidis, Yazidis is repeated 2 times. Yazidis' faith. Another important facet of the Yazidi faith is their belief in the oneness with nature. They worship the sun god 3 to 5 times each day. When Yazidis pray, they face the sun. The sun represents the source of energy or the ultimate truth. It is sacred and seen as an emanation of God. Yazidism is not an offshoot of another religion, but shows influence with many other religions. Shows influence from the many religions. Core Yazidi cosmology has a pre-Zoroastrian Iranian origin, but Yazidism also includes elements of ancient nature worship as well as influences from Zoroastrianism. Okay, and these people, I want to say something to you guys. The Muslims call the Yazidis the devil worshippers. In fact, there's a whole book about the Yazidis called the devil worshippers, because the Muslims refer to them as the devil worshippers. I've mentioned this in the previous lecture, and I've told you guys that the Malik Taus, that's the sun god, refused to bow down to Adam. And because of that, the Muslims refer to him as Lucifer. Okay, now this is an Abbasid myth. It's an Abbasid fable. Okay, it's an Abbasid fable that these people worship Lucifer, or the devil himself. And this is a claim, right? This is a claim made up by the Abbasid Muslims to hide the fact that they worship the sun. Because when you start looking at these religions and you start noticing that they all worship the sun, all of a sudden you start looking at Islam and you think to yourself, oh my God, these guys are also worshiping the sun. So let's go ahead, and the Zoroastrians, by the way, they claim that the Zoroastrians worship the fire. Okay? They claim that the Zoroastrians worship the fire. They don't worship the fire. The fire symbolizes the sun god. That's why they pray towards the fire. It's not because they worship the fire. This claim was also made up by the Muslims to hide the fact that they worship the sun. All of these religions worship the sun. And when you realize that, everything starts to make sense. So from Manichaeism, furthermore, Mani holds this to be in his statement. I want you guys to pay attention to the highlighted parts, okay? So from the Yazidis, we've said it is sacred and is seen as an emanation of God. The sun is sacred and is seen as an emanation of God. It's not the sun itself that they worship. They worship the hidden sun. Okay? Let's look at the Manichaeans. Mani holds this to be so in his statement that adherents of other religions reproach us because we worship the sun and the moon and set them up as images. Yet they have no knowledge of their true significance. They, the sun and moon, are our road and the gate through which we depart the world, where we originated. Right? They depart to the world where they originated through the sun and the moon because they are purgatories. And then this is also from the Manichaean sources. O truth, truth, how inwardly even then did the marrow of my soul sigh for thee when, frequently and in manifold ways, in numerous and vast books, the Manichaeans sounded out thy name, though it was only a sound. And in these dishes, while I starved for thee, they served up to me, in thy stead, the sun and moon, thy beauteous works. Your beauteous works, meaning, but still only thy works, and not thyself. Indeed, not even thy first work, for thy spiritual works came before these material creations, celestial and shining though they are. And the Manichaeans during prayer face the sun and moon. Okay? So notice how he says, the sun and moon, thy beauteous works, your beauteous works, meaning, but still only your works and not yourself. Indeed, not even your first work. For your spiritual works came before these material creations. So the sun and the moon are the material creations of God. Who is this God? The hidden sun. Okay? They pray to the sun and the moon because they are the image of God. The father and the mother. They are the image of the father God, that's the sun, the hidden sun, and the mother God, that's the hidden moon. From the Zoroastrian sources, the sun deified. Hvarikshata. Just forgive me, okay? Do forgive me. Is the shining sun as well as the genius presiding over him. Okay? The sixth Yasht. Yashts are a collection of 21 hymens that praise various Yazitas, or angels and ancient heroes. But notice it says, is the genius presiding over the sun. See that? So already they're telling us there's a spirit that presides over the sun. And the first Niyash, the 5 Niyash are some of the most primary prayers in the daily prayer book Khorde Avesta. They are some of the most often recited prayers, as the first 2 Niyash are obligatory prayers for the daytime. These prayers are considered to him, but in fact the first 2 Niyashes celebrate Varikshyata and Mithra conjointly. These 2 litanies, moreover, are always recited together during the daytime. So, the treatment of the sun, Yazita, worthy of worship or veneration, and the physical sun as a phenomenon of nature is so complicated that it is difficult in many instances to distinguish one from the other. So you have a sun that's worthy of worship, and then you have the physical sun. Take a guess which sun is worthy of worship. It's the hidden spirit of the sun. It's the hidden sun. That's the one worthy of worship. It is not so much Varikshata in the capacity of an angel that figures here, as does Varikshata, the sun itself. Zoroastrians pray during the day, and the source pray to the sun during the day, and a source of light during the night, a fire basically. During the day they pray to the sun, and during nighttime they pray to a fire. That's why they're called fire worshippers. When the sun is not present, they have to pray to a fire, so Muslims refer to them as fire worshippers. Okay. And this is one thing that I've missed. If you look at the top of the page, the symbol of Zoroastrianism, that's the one on the right, is none other than the winged sun disk of Egypt. See that? This is the winged sun disk. The symbol of Zoroastrianism is the winged sun disk. Okay, so the Mandaeans of Iraq and Iran. I bind and grasp Shemesh, the sun, king of all gods, whose brilliance is shed upon all cities. Come and tread down the kingdom of the Persians and the Medes, in the name of the 7 mysteries of their father. I bind and grasp Sin, the moon, lofty lord of light and darkness. Discomfit before them those who bring in the dominions of the Romans. Yawer-Zewa is an epithet meaning dazzling radiance, and Sim'at-Hai, mentioned together, are the 2 light and life powers most frequently invoked. Sim'at-Hai is a female life spirit and is looked on as the mother of all that has breath. She is spoken of sometimes as the female countenance of one of the great light spirits, sometimes of Shemesh the sun, thus tending to indicate a possible identification of Yawer-Zewa with that planet. Sim'at-Hai is the wife of the great man, the wife of the hidden sun in the world of non-existence. Here she is being described as the wife of Shemesh, the wife of the sun. Why is that? Because Shemesh is an avatar of the great man. Shemesh is just an avatar of the great man. The sun is an avatar of the great man. Okay? And Sim-at-Hai, as we've previously read, is Venus. Sim-at-Hai, we've previously read, is Venus. My note, we've previously read that the first intelligence, Mana, decided to cohabit with his companion to start creation. He cohabited with Sim-at-Hai and produced a great life. The great Mana is the hidden sun in the world of non-existence. He emerged out of an egg that he had created with Sim-at-Hai, his counterpart, into the world of existence, now with a new name, the Great Life. Okay. Continuing from the book, in truth, the Mandaeans do not adore the heavenly bodies, but they believe that stars and planets contain animating principles, spirits, subservient and obedient to Milka Denura, the King of Light, and that the lives of men are governed by their influences. With these controlling spirits are their doubles of darkness. In the sun boat stands the beneficent Shemesh, with symbols of fertility and vegetation, but with him is his baleful aspect Adonai, the god of the Jews, as well as guardian spirits of light. The Mandaeans invoke spirits of light only, not those of darkness. He said, I am Hai, who emerged from himself and came to reside in his splendor, the one who formed out of his Tmutha, likeness, and who concealed himself and resided inside it, whose light emerged from himself. And page 16 says, never praise the sun and the moon. They shine only by the will and command of the great Hai. Those who bow down to Adonai and have deviated from the original call have written a book for themselves. Adonai is a name given to the sun, and the God of the Jews another name for Shemesh. See that? So they don't pray to the sun, they pray to the hidden sun, the spirit of the sun. And the source of this is the Egyptians. I will later read this and I will prove this to you. From the Hindu sources, the 9 planets comprise the sun, Surya. Surya, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but Surya is the name of the country of Syria in Arabic. In Arabic, Syria is called Surya, which means that this deity was definitely worshipped in the Levant. The 9 planets are Surya, the sun, the moon, Soma, Mercury, that's Buddha, Jupiter, Brahaspati, Venus, Shukra, Mars, Mangala, Saturn, Sani, I think Shani. Was it Shani or Sani? I'm not sure. Rahu and Ketu, a comet. My note, the false sun and the moon that cause eclipse. These 2 last ones, Rahu and Ketu, are the false sun and moon that cause the eclipse. Surya and Savitar, these 2 names most frequently used in the Rig Veda to denote the sun and the sun god. Chandra, the moon, Chandra, the moon, and its personification as a deity. Shani is the name of the inauspicious planet Saturn and of its regent. Regent or regent? This is beyond embarrassing. How do I not? Okay, let's just try and finish this. Shani, the name of the inauspicious planet Saturn and of its regent. So Shani is the name of the planet Saturn. See that? This is the name of the planet Saturn. It's also the god. Okay, the god's name is Shani because it's not a spirit, it's the planet itself. They're praying to the planet itself, not the spirit of the planet. Chandra, the moon, and its personification as a deity. Right? So the moon and its personification as a deity. It's not, there's no separation. What I'm trying to say is there's no spirit that resides over these planets. They're praying to the planet directly. Shukra became a star god and was made regent of the planet Venus. Shukra is the name of the planet Venus. And he is the god. Brahaspati, lord of prayer. Jupiter, a Vedic god. This the celestial priest of the gods, unlike most Vedic deities, who personify only the forces and phenomena of nature. Brahaspati represent. I need a minute. I'm so sorry. I need a minute. Brahaspati represents moral ideas, or is regarded as the divine Brahmana, who sanctifies the sacrificial rites of his earthly counterpart. He gains and holds for the gods the magical powers obtained by the sacrifice, and ensures the benefits which are expected by the officiants of the sacrifice. Buddha is the personification of the planet Mercury. He is said to be the son of Soma, the moon. Okay. So the personification of the planet Mercury means the deity that is worshipped. Okay. And the name of the planet is Buddha. The name of the planet Mercury in Sanskrit is Buddha. So there's no separation between the god and the planet. They're worshipping directly the planets, not their spirits. In the Nabatean inscriptions, Allah does not seem to occur separately as the name of a god, but in the inscriptions of Safa, the separate use is found. Among the heathen Arabs of later times, Allah is extremely common, both by itself and in theophoric names. Wellhausen cites a large number of passages in which pre-Islamic Arabs mention Allah as a great deity. And even if we strike out some passages, for instance on the ground that the text has been altered by Mohammedan scribes, so many still remain over, and so many more by which we are quite above suspicion can without difficulty be found that the fact is clearly established. Moreover, Allah forms an integral part of various idiomatic phrases which were in constant use among the heathen Arabs. Of special importance is the testimony in the Quran, which proves beyond doubt that the heathens themselves regarded Allah as the supreme being. Thus men turn to Allah when they are in distress. Solemn oaths are sworn in His name. He is recognized by mankind as the Creator and the giver of rain. Their crime consists only in the fact that they worship other gods besides Him. See that? So He is the supreme God. Allah is the supreme God. And the supreme God of the Sabians is the sun. Okay? So when Muhammad was going around and telling people worship Allah and do not worship anyone else, he was telling them to worship the sun. The hidden sun. Right? Then he explained that those to whom the Prophet were sent acknowledged the monotheism of divinity. And he said, otherwise these polytheists will bear witness that Allah is the Creator alone with no partner, that no one provides except for Him, and no one gives life except for Him, and no one causes death except for Him, and no one gives life except for Him. Only He manages the matter, and all the heavens and those in them, and the seven lands and everyone in them, are all His slaves, and under His control and oppression. But this acknowledgement did not benefit the polytheists, because their acknowledgement of Allah Almighty as the Creator, that He is the owner, that He is the ruler, and that He is the provider, did not move them from polytheism to monotheism. And this benefits you with an important benefit, which is that whoever interprets there is no God but Allah, and there is no creator but Allah, and there is no manager but Allah, and that there is no inventor except for Allah, for he has clearly gone astray, as there is no disagreement about this between the messengers and their people. Allah has created creation to acknowledge His lordship, but the disagreement occurred regarding devoting worship to other than Him. The polytheists found it acceptable and justified devoting worship to other than Allah. And the messengers came commanding people that it is obligatory to dictate worship to Him alone and not to everyone else. See that? So He wasn't telling them to worship a different God. Muhammad, when he was in Mecca, He wasn't telling the heathens there, you guys need to start worshipping this new god. No, he was telling them, you guys need to stop worshipping other gods besides Allah. Who is Allah? The first people beyond Syria who dwell in Arabia Felix are the Nabateans and the Sabians. They overran Syria before they became subject to the Romans. But at present, both they and the Syrians are subject to the Romans. The metropolis of the Nabateans is Petra. They worship the sun, building an altar on top of the house, and pouring libations on it daily and burning frankincense. The sun is the supreme God, and this is true for all of the Sabians. The Prophet came rushing out to the masjid one day when the sun eclipsed. Okay. And he prayed until the eclipse ended. Then he said, the people of Jahiliyyah used to say that eclipses of the sun and the moon only happened when some great man on earth died. But eclipses of the sun and moon did not happen for the death of or birth of anyone. Rather, they are two of the creations of Allah, and Allah causes to happen in His creation what He wills. Whichever of them becomes eclipsed, pray until it is over, or Allah causes something to happen. See that? So Muslims are required to pray when a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse takes place. There are 3 times at which the Messenger of Allah forbade us to pray or to bury our dead. When the sun has risen fully until it is higher, when it reaches its zenith, until it has passed the zenith, and when the sun starts to set. What does this mean? Right? It means that the Muslims' prayers are entirely dependent on the sun. They're praying to the sun. Right? And they can't bury their dead during certain times when the sun is in certain parts of the sky. They can't pray. They can't bury their dead. Or even pray. They can't pray or bury their dead. On the authority of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, he forbade urinating in stagnant water, defecating in fruitful areas, on the road, in the shade, or in a hole. He also forbade speaking over urine and feces, and he forbade facing the sun and moon or turning one's back to them while urinating or defecating. On the authority of Ibn Abbas, the Prophet said to a man, do you see the sun? He said, yes. He said, on the like of it, so bear witness or leave. So the Prophet was swearing by the sun. I swear by the sun. That's what he used to say. Look at this. Now have you considered Al-Lat and Al-Uzza? Ibn Jarir said, they derived its name from the name of God Almighty. So they said Al-Lat, meaning the feminine form of Allah. Right? So the gods are androgynous, as we've said, so Al-Lat is Allah. Al-Lat is Allah. So what God is Al-Lat? Al-Lat is the sun, as I'm going to show you. But before that, let's go ahead and read this. Yusuf Zaidan wrote that Muhammad was given the name Qutham at birth. He said that his friend shouted angrily and flung his arm in the air, objecting to what he said. That Qutham bin Abdullah was his original name before Muhammad, Ahmad and Mahmud, and he carried this name until he was over 40 years old. So the Prophet's original name was Qutham bin, the son of the slave of Allat. Abid means slave. So Qutham bin, meaning son, Abid, slave of Allat. Qutham, the son of the slave of Allat. The conclusion of this thesis is that the research I concluded in the life of Muhammad is not scientific research in the modern sense, because I only relied on Arabic sources and did not return to the investigations of German Orientalists such as Goldziher, Noldike, and others, and that is because I consider the Quran to be a historical document in which there is no room for doubt, even though the investigations of these Orientalists indicate that it was later distorted and altered. The Quran was later distorted and altered, and this is something that I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to show you who altered the Quran and why they altered the Quran. And I have shown you previously that there are attempts to hide the Sabaic theology. We've previously seen that there have been attempts to hide the Sabaic theology. I'm going to be telling you in details who did that. Okay? Let's go ahead and continue reading. Distorted and altered after the Prophet's death during the first era of Islam. One of these changes was the Prophet's name, which was Kutham. Then it was changed and became Muhammad. Allat means the gods, and it is said that it is the sun. Okay. Theodore Noldicus stated that Allat and Herodotus mentioned must have had a very high status among the Arabs in the Sinai Peninsula and their neighbors. It was described in Nabatean inscriptions as the mother of gods. Noldica agreed with Julius that Allat is the sun god for the Nabateans, which was held in special reverence. Louis Shecho wrote about Dusaris, Thuthura. Nabateans worshipped the sun in special reverence, and they had in their capital Petra a large temple to honor her, and they used to call her Dusaris, meaning the luminous king. As for whether Dusaris is the sun, it is clear to us that it is, as Strabo confirms that they worshipped and they had made her a celebration on the 25th of December. Maximus of Tyre added that the Nabateans had attributed an idol to Dusaris, and it was black rock, cuboid in shape. So the sun had a black rock, cuboid in shape, 4 feet high and 2 feet wide. Kind of reminds me of the black stone that the Muslims have. Dusaris' temple was ordained with gold, and gold is the metal of the sun, as we've previously read. My note: gold is the metal of the sun, and this date, 25th of December, is especially important because it's the date that Mithraism, religion of Iran before Zoroastrian period, celebrated as the New Year, the date when Mithra, the sun god, was born. Romans later adopted this deity and celebrated it on the 25th of December as well, which some scholars have argued that Christians adopted the date for Jesus' birth. One should bear in mind that Mithraic New Year began on Natalis Invicti, Roman celebration of the birthday of their invincible sun god, when the new light appears from the vault of heaven. Romans and Hindus also worship this deity Mithra. Agni, who goes at the head of the dawns, produces Mithra. Agni is a Hindu deity. The conclusion from the Vedic evidence that Mithra was a solar deity is corroborated by the Avesta and by Persian religion in general, where Mithra, the Avesta, is the holy book of the Zoroastrians, and the Vedas are the holy books of the Hindus, where Mithra is undoubtedly the sun god. Okay. This is the same date as the date that Christians today celebrate for Jesus Christ. For the birth of Jesus Christ. I have a chapter on this, and I'm going to be explaining to you what this means. So stay tuned. And remember, Khalid Miran told us that Jesus is the sun god. Okay? He told us that Jesus is the sun god. I mean, I would love to talk about it, but I just want to keep you guys interested, to be honest. Let's continue reading about our topic. Allat is of Sanskrit origin. Allata refers to a firebrand, and represents the weapons of Rebus. According to Shiva Purana, accordingly, as Brahma narrated to Narada, while the sage Bergu was pouring the offerings, thousands of powerful demons rose up. O excellent sage, a terrible fight ensued between Shiva's attendants and the demons, who had firebrands, alata, for their weapons. Alata could also refer to a whirling firebrand. The circle of fire, this would be representative of the sun. So a circle of fire would be representative of the sun. And this explains to us why they say Allahu Akbar. Indeed, the sun is the biggest planet. Akbar means bigger. Allah is bigger. Allah is the biggest planet. The sun is the biggest planet. Look at this Quranic verse. Among his signs are the day and night, the sun and the moon. Do not prostrate to the sun or the moon, but prostrate to Allah, who created them all, if you truly worship Him alone. This is very similar to what we read from the Mandaeans. From the Mandaean sources, where does it say it? Never praise the sun and the moon. They shine only by the will and command of the Great Hay. This is page 16. See that? So, the same stuff. It's the same stuff. They don't pray to the sun. They don't pray to the physical solar orb. They pray to the hidden sun. Prophet Idris, who is known to the Mandaeans as Ahura Mazda, supreme god of the Zoroastrians, we've actually read this. Okay, Idris is the Thoth of the Egyptians. Okay, and he is Hermes to the Greeks, and he is Ahura Mazda to the Zoroastrians and to the Mandaeans. And the Mandaeans also refer to him as Idris, just like the Muslims today. Now, what are the teachings of Idris? What are the teachings of Thoth? Okay. From the texts of Hermes, that's Thoth, the sun is the most important angel in the firmament. It's like a king that others vow loyalty to, except that the strong sun submits humbly for the other smaller planets to circumambulate it. So who does this king obey with fear? The angel, Ra, Egyptian sun god, sends energy to the earth. God is the invisible light which can't be seen with the naked eye. Ra is the visible light which shines from the center of our solar system. The sun is the image of God, and God gives life to the entire universe. The sun gives life to the animals and plants on earth, and the light of the sun nourishes nature in the same way that the light of God nourishes our souls. The universe's mind was made from air and fire, and the seven firmaments determine fate. See that? The seven firmaments are the seven planets. The five visible planets and the sun and moon, their orbits control the world of senses. These cosmic forces are perceived by thought alone. They rule the world and are called divine beings. Okay, so Allah is Amun-Ra. Okay, Allah is Amun-Ra. Look at this Quranic verse. I have just come to you from Sheba with sure news. Indeed, I found a woman ruling over them, who has been given everything she needs, and who has a magnificent throne. I found her and her people prostrating to the sun without Allah. The Muslims today translate this as instead of Allah. The actual translation is without Allah. The people of Sheba were prostrating to the sun without Allah. For Satan has made their deeds appealing to them, hindering them from the right way and leaving them unguided. Okay? One more paragraph about the Egyptians, and this is going to be over. I'm going to move to the next topic right after this. One common source of error is the frequent occurrence in Egyptian texts of the phrase the god, implying that the texts were referring to a single supreme God in the sense of the Jewish, Christian, or Muslim usage of the word God. This usage, however, is confined for the most part to a genre of literature which Egyptologists call wisdom literature, or didactic literature. These are the great teachings or instructions of the great sages of the Egyptian past, such as the instruction of Ptahitop or the instruction of Amenemop, because these teachings were primarily intended for the training of young scribes who would serve in a wide variety of situations during their careers. The expression "the God" was placed in the instructions almost as a blank space in the template. The same teaching would also employ the phrase "the gods" and mention specific deities such as Thoth and Ra. This is not to say that there was no tendencies towards monotheism in the Egyptian religion. Often, such beliefs took the form of henotheism, or the belief in one God's supremacy over many others. For instance, Amun-Ra, the chief god of the official state cult of the New Kingdom, bore the epithet King of the Gods, an expression asserting the paramount position without denying the existence of other deities. On the local level, many of the major gods were solarized, like Amun-Ra, and said to be overlord of the rest of the gods. Amun-Ra was called the King of the Gods. Where did we read that, the King of the Gods? Allat, right? The luminous king, he was called the luminous king, and he was called, no, we've definitely read this, the mother of gods. See that? The mother of gods. The Nabateans in Petra used to call the sun the mother of gods, and the Egyptians called the sun the mother of gods. This is the supreme God. The supreme God of the Sabians is the sun, the hidden sun. Okay? Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. We're going to have many more interesting topics to discuss in the future. So do come back for some more information. Till next time. Bye bye.